on iRadio.
أنا بقول للناس كده يا جماعة شهر رمضان ده شهر مبارك يعني الناس قاعدين فيه ده شهر الناس يصلها معلومة القتال ده شهر الزول يقدر يساعد المسكين المحتاج لو عندك قروش كده لك الله في مسكين ما قاعد يلقى المنتج ما قاعد ياكل بس وسط شهر 5000 10,000 ساعد المسكين أمشي شلة في المستشفيات تمشي تلقى زول عنده الشتاء ما قادر يبيع أدوية ساعد له دواء أمشي في مساجد برضه يلقينا زي تلقى مساكين قاعدين في خشم الباب يعني عندك حاجة أنت ساعد بو بس تساعد بو ربنا بفتح لك وبزيد شغلك دي لقدام يعني الناس تلقى قروش انت بتلقى مرايس ومسكينات كلامات الفارق ما عنده معنى يعني أنا أتمنى كده شهر يكون شهر بركة والرحمن الناس كده ربنا ينزل لهم رحمة في قلوب الناس يفكروا حاجة الكويس ما يفكروا لحاجة البطال ثم ثاني حاجة ثانية نقول ربنا كده يلمس قلوب ناس دائما الدكتور أعطاهم بدلهم بسلاح يوم الكتل يوم من ناحية ده أنا بتمنى كده ربنا يكش في قلوب ناس يلمس قلوبهم ناس يفكروا لحاجة الكويس والثاني يعني التعبير لقدام يعني.
Sounds of the Week on iRadio, your eye on South Sudan.
Live from Juba, on air and online.
This is iRadio News.
Hello, good afternoon. This is iRadio News. First, to the headlines. The newly appointed Finance Minister Salvatore Garang Mabiordit has pledged to prioritize timely payment of salaries, clear outstanding arrears, and ensure funding for security, defense, and national priorities as he takes office. Eastern Equatorial State has been assured of its inclusion in the government's Goal for Roads project following discussions between the National Minister of Roads and Bridges and the state delegation led by Governor Louis Labong. And the Secretary General of the Anglican Communion has mourned the death of Bishop Nathaniel Garang Anyes, the first bishop of the Diocese of Bor in the Episcopal Church of South Sudan. This is stories and more coming to in this news bulletin with me, Lasuba Memo. And now the news in detail. The newly appointed Minister of Finance, Salvatore Garang Mabiordit, has pledged to prioritize timely payment of salaries, clear outstanding arrears, and ensure funding for security, defense, and national priorities as he takes office. Minister Mabiordit was sworn in on Wednesday by President Salva Kiir in Juba, who called for a tough economic rescue plan to address the country's ongoing economic crisis. In a post on the official Facebook page of the Office of the President, the head of state directed the minister to work closely with key economic institutions, including the Bank of South Sudan, to tackle the cash crunch and broader financial challenges. Minister Mabior also announced plans to mobilize resources to support the December general elections. Eastern Equatorial State has been assured of its inclusion in the government's Goal for Roads project following discussions between the National Minister of Roads and Bridges Peter Lamboth and the state delegation led by Governor Louis Labong. The talks on Wednesday focus on how mineral resources in the state could be used to upgrade roads leading to Eastern Equatorial State. Earlier, Governor Labong raised concerns after the government announced a Goal for Roads project following the approval by the National Cabinet of a $2 billion budget to construct roads in the Bahar El Ghazal and the Equatorial regions. According to Juba, it has contracted an international company, Shamrock, to construct the roads with income generated from gold mining. The chairperson of Eastern Equatorial State Parliamentary Caucus in the National Assembly, Julius Molinga, confirmed that the Ministry of Roads and Bridges has included the state in Phase 2 of the new policy direction, which will use gold collateral for constructing roads across the country.
For an inquiry to find out exactly from the mouth of the horse who happens to be the minister as to why Eastern Equatoria is not having a share in the whole plan. But then after a very satisfactory description of the plans of the government in as far as these projects which are preliminary and pilot in nature, we felt that we have not been left out from his description. These are pilot projects. If they are done very well, I think we will come in. Eastern Equatoria has goal, has resources, and I think we will perform the best if in the next phase.
Meanwhile, the spokesperson in the office of the minister, whose name has not been identified in A broadcast on the state-run TVS-SBC said,
the Eastern Equatoria government are requesting the Ministry of Road and Bridge so that the construction of the road can reach the Eastern Equatoria state. And the minister promised them that in the next plan, the ministry will invite the companies. They will invite the companies to make sure that the road construction will reach the Eastern Equatoria state.
The Secretary General of the Anglican Communion has mourned the death of Bishop Nathaniel Garang-Anyeth, the first bishop of the Diocese of Bor in the Episcopal Church of South Sudan. The Right Reverend Anthony Pogo, the former Kaju KG bishop, described Bishop Nathaniel as a transformational church leader whose ministry contributed to the growth of the church in South Sudan and beyond. Bishop Pogo said, and I quote, "It is sad to hear the news of the passing of Bishop Nathaniel. He leaves behind a legacy as a leader who was instrumental in witnessing to the light of the gospel in many parts of South Sudan and the refugee camps. His ministry, especially during the liberation struggle, led to the tremendous growth of the Episcopal Church of South Sudan." End quote. Bishop Pogo said Bishop Nathaniel played a key role in peace-building efforts during the country's conflicts. He said alongside Bishop Seme Solomona, former Anglican Bishop of Yei, and Bishop Paride Taban of the Catholic Church, the late played a significant role in advocacy, peace-building and reconciliation during the conflict in South Sudan. He described late Bishop Nathaniel as a leader, exemplary in Christ-like servant leadership, and called on Christians to remember his family, the Diocese of Bor, and the people of South Sudan in their prayers. Further details about Bishop Nathaniel's death were announced by the Primate of the Episcopal Church of South Sudan. Meanwhile, the United States Embassy in South Sudan has expressed condolences following the death of retired Bishop Nathaniel Garang-Anyeth of the Episcopal Church of South Sudan. In a statement on its Facebook page dated 26 February 2026, the embassy said it was saddened by the news of his passing and paid tribute to his years of service. The statement partially reads, and I quote, "We are saddened to learn of the passing of retired Bishop Nathaniel Garang-Anyeth of the Episcopal Church of South Sudan. We honor his decades of service as a spiritual leader. We extend our condolences to his loved ones and others mourning his loss, and hope they find peace in the memories of his life and legacy." End quote. Bishop Nathaniel, the first bishop of the Diocese of Bor, has been widely remembered for his spiritual leadership and contribution to church growth and peace efforts in South Sudan. This is iRadio News. Central Equatoria State has inaugurated the rehabilitation of the 175-kilometer Juba-Mundri Road, a vital transport corridor linking Juba County in Central Equatoria State with Mundri County in Western Equatoria State. The project being implemented by the United Nations Mission in South Sudan Engineering Field Office was inaugurated by Governor of Central Equatoria, Manuel Adil Anthony, on Wednesday. Speaking at the launch, Juba County Commissioner Emmanuel Tetesbon emphasized that the newly rehabilitated road will serve as a vital link between Juba and Western Equatoria, as well as other areas within Juba County. He said that the project will significantly enhance security and improve the movement of people and goods between the two states. Commissioner Isbon further called upon local chiefs and community members to support the initiative by providing maram to aid in the road's rehabilitation.
This road will cover Luri Payam, special areas of Nyorja. We are now in Nyorjana Mere, then Somba on your left hand, then Yare, Buma, Nyamene, Koda, Seremon, Jebelen, Rokon, Mirkio, Rokon, and so on. So this is a great day. So anena murtahin min mashrude ashan kida gabana jayamul launching. So they sifada ta communities na haistafidu fi tijara fi amni laano share au amni wa share bafta majalla tijara bafta majalla tenmia maram ma bishelu min mahalta na shane odile mahalta ni mafi mun haishulu maram ituna somba ana derno shkurkum ketir agifkum ma mashrude wodita kun maram kan wasulu fi yarenak maram bardo fi salatenta yare fi kan wasulu fi dolo mara menaglo fi bardo salatene nak.
The project is scheduled for completion by May 30th, 2026. Before international news, youth leaders in Juba raised concerns over unemployment, skills development, access to quality education, mental health services, and the lack of safe recreational spaces during a high-level meeting with senior government officials aimed at strengthening coordinated action on youth priorities. The intra-cluster dialogue was jointly chaired by Vice President for Gender and Youth Affairs Rebecca Nyandeng Dimabur and Vice President and Chair of the Service Cluster Josephine Lagu. The meeting on Wednesday brought together the National Youth Union and representatives from key ministries to examine cross-cutting challenges affecting young people across the country. Youth representatives have emphasized that young people remain central to South Sudan's future development and have called for practical government interventions to address their pressing needs. In an emotional appeal, youth leaders said mothers are the ones who listen, while expressing confidence in women leaders to champion their concerns at the highest levels of government. The Vice President described the early engagement in Juba as a practical example of civic participation and encouraged sustained dialogue between young people and national leadership. Ministries represented at the meeting included youth and sports, culture, gender, child and social welfare, higher education, general education and labor. In a statement in August 2025, the Deputy Special Representative of the United Nations Secretary General in South Sudan, Anita Kikik-Beho, said young people must be part of the solution as the country continues to face political, humanitarian and environmental crisis. She said that youth form the backbone of South Sudan's population but remain increasingly vulnerable to multiple challenges. This is iReady News, and now to the international scene. Here is James Atemquer.
Thank you, Lasuba Memo. Beginning in the region, the UN Security Council has announced new sanctions on 4 leaders of Sudan's paramilitary rapid support forces over atrocities committed in the western Sudanese city of Al-Fashir. The Deputy Commander, Abdul Rahim Hamdan Dagalo, and Brigadier General El-Fateh Abdallah Idris, more commonly called Abu Lulu, who became known as the Butcher of Al-Fashir, are among those proscribed. The others are RSF Deputy Commander Gedo Hamdan Ahmed and Field Commander Tijani Ibrahim. Elsewhere, 4 people shot dead by Cuban border guards in a U.S.-registered speedboat were Cuban nationals living in the United States, Cuba's government said. In a statement posted online, Cuba's interior minister said that the speedboat's passengers, the 4 who were killed and 6 others who were wounded, also Cuban citizens, opened fire on a Coast Guard vessel that approached them near an island off the country's northern coast on Wednesday. The 10 individuals, some with previous criminal records, were armed and intended to carry out an infiltration for terrorist purposes, the statement said. U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio said the U.S. was also investigating the highly unusual incident. And finally, U.S. and Iranian officials are meeting in Geneva for a third round of indirect talks, seen as crucial to averting conflict. President Donald Trump has threatened to strike Iran if a nuclear deal is not reached. The discussions come amid the largest U.S. military buildup in the Middle East since the U.S.-led invasion of Iraq in 2003, and with Iran vowing to respond to an attack with force. But the chances of an agreement remain unclear. While Trump has said he prefers to solve the crisis through diplomacy, he has also said he is considering a limited strike on Iran to pressure its leaders to accept a deal. And that's all in the regional and international news. With me, James Atem. Now back to you, Lasuba Memo, in the studio.
Thanks, James Atemquer. And now to the world of sports. Here is Francis Mukhtar.
Thanks, Lasuba Memo. In the sport news, in a thrilling round 18 clash of the South Sudan Premier League, El Marikh Bentiu continued their dominant run by defeating Holy Family FC 3-1 at the Holy Family home ground on February 26, 2026. The win strengthened El Marikh Bentiu's position at the top of the league, extending their lead over second-place Jamus SSC to 3 points, with 15 wins, 2 draws, and just 1 loss in 18 matches. they will sit on 74 points, boasting a remarkable goal difference of plus 44. Meanwhile, Holy Family FC remains in 4th place, but will need to regroup quickly after conceding 3 goals, leaving them trailing the leaders. Elsewhere, Real Madrid booked their place in the UEFA Champions League round of 16 with a 2-1 victory over SL Benfica at the Santiago Bernabeu. After failing behind early, Madrid responded through Yurlen Tchouameni before Vinicius Jr. struck the decisive goal late in the game, sealing a 3-1 aggregate win in the knockout playoffs. The Tchouameni stressed need for greater consistency as Real prepare for tougher tests ahead, dismissing pressure about future opponents and insisting his side must focus on improvement as the competition intensifies. In one of the most dramatic ties of the round, Atlantic outround a 2-goal first leg deficit to eliminate Borussia Dortmund. Atalanta scored deep into stoppage time to win 4-3 on aggregate, becoming one of the few teams to achieve such a comeback against a German side in Champions League history. To be featured, chaos with multiple red cards and a late penalty that ultimately sent Atlanta through to the last 16, where they will learn their next opponent when the draw is held later this week. These results wrap up the knockout playoffs and set the stage for the Champions League round of 16, featuring major ties including fixtures with Paris Saint-Germain versus Barcelona or Chelsea, and Real Madrid versus Sporting Lisbona or Manchester City. And with this, I have come to the end of Sport News from iRadio. Back to you, Lasuba Memo in the studio. I am Francis Mukhtar.
Thank you indeed, Francis Mukhtar. This is iRadio News, and to end this bulletin, here's a recap of the headlines. The newly appointed Finance Minister Salvatore Garang-Biordit has pledged to prioritize timely payment of salaries, clear outstanding arrears, and ensure funding for security, defense, and national priorities as he takes office. Eastern Equatorial State has been assured of its inclusion in the government's Goal for Roads project following discussions between the National Minister of Roads and Bridges, Peter Lambuth, and the state delegation led by Governor Louis Lobong. And the Secretary General of Anglican Communion has mourned the death of Bishop Nathaniel Garang-Anyeth, the first bishop of the Diocese of Bor in the Episcopal Church of South Sudan. That's the end of iRadio Afternoon News. If there's a story or an event you'd like iRadio to cover or report about, please send us a text message at +211 925 287 It's also a WhatsApp number. Follow us on X at iRadio Juba, like our Facebook page iRadio. Subscribe to our YouTube channel at iRadio South Sudan. You can also visit our website and listen to us online at www.iradio.org. Stay tuned for news in Arabic at 1:30. I am Lasuba Memo. Thank you for listening.